So, good morning, everyone. We are going to continue our class today. As you see, the title of the topic that we are going to discuss is about predicate logic. Consider this is part 1 because I don't think we can finish all the topic within one class section. So, next week, I'm sure we're still going to continue the discussions of this predicate logic. So before we start further, I believe it is important to explain to you all what actually the basic difference between propositional logic and predicate logic, or the reason why predicate logic must be there. Is it because propositional logic is not enough, or how? So we are going to discuss and look at that point. First, for your information, both propositional logic and predicate logic are the formal system to represent knowledge. So basically, these two are the same things, or considers as a system that we can use to represent knowledge. Just that if you notice how we make a use of propositional logic in previous classes to represent the fact, we merely just use a single alphabet to represent all the facts in there with the logical connectives, and that's all. For example, to say penguin likes fish and penguin eats fish. So in proposition logic, we take this as one statement, maybe A, and this one another statement B, and we have logical connectives here and then this all just to represent by using A and B. So if you're looking at this kind of representations, there are not much detail we can see. There are two symbols. So because of this problem, then we found out that propositional logic are not enough, because the real word system or knowledge in there is more details, which propositional logic doesn't have the functions or capability to do so. For examples, to distinguish properties from the objects to which they apply. So propositional logic doesn't have this kind of capability. For examples, to say Samantha is Charlie's sister. So to state this kind of property, proposition logic doesn't have the functions to do that. And again, next, to express all, like referring to quantity or numbers in there. Here also propositional logic doesn't have this kind of functions. For example, if we would like to say all sisters are female, so to state all here, the propositional logic doesn't have that functions. Or another way to represent or to refer to equality, to express some. Also with this, propositional logic doesn't have the functions or way to represent this. For example, to say some people don't have sisters, like that. So again, to represent some in here, propositional logic doesn't have that kind of functions. Next, to notion about or of equality. This one also, propositional logic doesn't have a way to do that. For example, to say no one is their own sisters. So to state the no one here doesn't have, propositional logic doesn't have that capability. Or the next one also, function or way to state about function. For example, everyone's mother is also their sister's mother. So to state the functions like mother functions here, propositional logic doesn't have. Okay? So this is why we need more powerful formal system to represent the knowledge. Okay? Which is, now we said, or we would like to discuss about the predicate logic itself. So in general, what this predicate logic has. So the predicate logic first we can have variable. We will explain this one further later on, like x, y, z. And also we have predicate like x is female. So how we can represent this? So we can make use that kind of predicate in here. Or to say X is the sister of Y. So the sister predicate here we can have in predicate logic. And as mentioned earlier, in predicate logic we have quantifiers to state all. We use this notion, or some, so we use these notions. For examples, if we put as like this, then we read as for all X, or if we put this way, then we read as for some X. Then the logical connectives, this one the same with what we have in propositional logic. So here also we have not, we have conjunctions, we have disjunctions, implies, and then be implies. Okay, so this is what the basic, not say the basics, this is the entire things that difference between propositional logic and predicate logic. So as we already mentioned in here, the propositional logic itself is not enough to state most of the details that object can have. So we already list down about 6 of the things that propositional logic not be able to represent. So predicate logic have a way to do all those. And then here we already highlight the 4 things about the predicate logic itself. We can have variable, we can have predicate about an object, we can state about quantifiers, and the logical connectives is the basic thing that is similar with what we have in propositional logic. Okay, so on the next video we are going to discuss one by one about this variable, predicate, quantifier, as well as the logical connectives, and how we make a use all of this, and having predicate logic to represent knowledge better compared to propositional logic. Okay, so let's continue to the next video.